beautiful friends. It is an amazing day today, and I want to welcome you back to the stream. We've got a bunch of news to unpack today, including the big news about Matt Gaetz. He's out, and that is a big surprise because we were just here yesterday talking about Matt Gaetz's victory with the Ethics Committee that did not release their report. But now we got news, Matt Gaetz is out of here. So we're going to piece together what that means exactly. I've got reaction from this. There's a big question why this happened. Matt Gaetz was just there yesterday, hanging out with senators and talking to a bunch of people. So what gives? Why is he now no longer in the running for the AG? Did something happen on Capitol Hill? And then the next question, of course, is what happens to Matt Gaetz? Where is he going to go? Is he going back into his congressional seat? Some people are saying, yeah, he is. And the idea is also being talked about by other people currently in Congress saying, you know, he resigned from the 118th, but guess what's coming up next? The 119th. And then we'll see where that goes. So got a bunch of reaction. It's great to be here. And my friends, the tubes are warmed up. It's a beautiful day, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. Let me give you a preview of what we're talking about today in the Matt Gaetz realm, and then we'll share what is coming up elsewhere. We've got a big update on Matt Gaetz, obviously. We're going to go through his reaction. He posted a statement over on X, and Trump has responded. So we'll go through both of these statements and see what they had to say about it. Then we've got reaction to what does this mean for Gaetz, because he resigned already, and that was in C-SPAN. We saw that happen on the floor where they read his resignation. But does that mean he's out of Congress? Can he come back? What's going to happen? Well, this congressperson, Jason Smith, a representative, says, yeah, he can come on back because he only resigned from the 118th. But others say no, the resignation applies to the incoming Congress as well. So we'll go through it. Of course, want to see what you say about it. What is going to happen to Matt Gaetz? Some people talking about making him a senator and other things. But another question, obviously, is why did this happen? CNN said that they got a report of another encounter at some other location. Apparently, there was a phone call to Gaetz, and that Gaetz was warned everything's going to come out, which we already speculated. We've already been operating under that premise from the very beginning, saying, yeah, that's kind of the point, is Matt Gaetz is not attempting to hide this. He's going to be in front of a Senate confirmation hearing. You guys are going to beat the hell out of him over this, right? Well, not anymore. So Matt Gaetz will not be in front of that Senate confirmation hearing. And so people are wondering what happened here. They say Matt Gaetz made the decision on his own. He was not forced out. He called Trump, in other words, not Trump calling Gaetz. And then there's a ton of reaction. Ronna McDaniels was out. For some reason, they wanted to talk to her. Ron Johnson was out talking about it. Tom Tillis, Lindsey Graham, and others all reacting to the Matt Gaetz developments. But what does this mean for other incoming nominees? Well, you know that they're coming for them next. So Pete Hegseth is up on deck. We'll be waiting for them to try to smear him and take him out as well. So all that, we're going to zoom in and see what's happening there. Then we've got updates on January 6th and New York, because there was a letter that came out from the Oversight Subcommittee today. Chairman of that subcommittee is named Loudermilk. And Loudermilk dropped this letter and this entire press release saying that the DOD, the Department of the Defense, Inspector General concealed evidence from January 6th. You're kidding. I know you're shocked. I know. Everybody. Rob, you're kidding. They did? Yeah, they did. They did. And now this is a new letter, fresh out of the oven. We'll see what the chairman from the Oversight Subcommittee said to the Inspector General, saying, will you please stop covering stuff up? It's a big problem for us in America. They referenced this video of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who testified that one thing happened, but then, of course, it didn't ultimately happen. And today, we were waiting for this hearing to take place. Christopher Wray and Alejandro were supposed to come into Congress and have a hearing. Apparently, they'd not missed this for 15 years, but they didn't show up. It was scheduled. They snubbed Congress, and Congress is not happy about it. So Ron Johnson and Josh Hawley are saying that the Senate panel got snubbed. They just didn't show up at all. Then we'll turn our attention to what's happening in New York because Trump's defense team submitted a demand that the case in New York be dismissed. And this is a powerful letter, very short, coming from Todd Blanche and Emil Bove. And I'm just loving where this is going because they're going to the Attorney General's office. In fact, now Todd Blanche might be the Attorney General if Matt Gaetz isn't going to be the AG. Why not Todd Blanche? Just bump him up the list. Think that we're going to be supportive of Todd here because we kind of know him. All right, so what's up? Todd is there, and this is the letter that they sent in, and apparently in Manhattan, somebody from Alvin Bragg's office, who of course is the prosecutor prosecuting this case, was robbed. Kyle Becker is reporting this, that the suspect is a Venezuelan gang member and apparently attacked somebody from Alvin Bragg's office because they were busy prosecuting Trump. So we got a bunch of fun stuff to get to today. And I'm glad that you're here and joining us. And of course, it's a beautiful day. But before we get into any of that, you know what we got to talk about? Getting prepared, because there are a lot of things happening in the world around us. You've seen these stories. Nuclear war, right at the forefront of all of our lives. Now we know why these celebrities are building bunkers all over the place. Now it's been confirmed. We've heard about it from multiple reports. Missiles flying all over the place. NATO into Russia, Russia back out, Putin and the world on the brink of nuclear war. So it's not good. Now, if global disaster strikes, the question is, are you prepared? We see these headlines. We get a lot of medications from overseas, and we need to cover our bases here in the United States. That's why we've got to get our kits from the Wellness Company. There are medical emergency kits that they've got. You can click the link in the description below. They're packed with all sorts of good stuff like Z-Packs, amoxicillin, and more. And they come in this very nice kit that is assembled for you. So if something happens, you can use them to combat whatever pops up. There's a guidebook, tells you how to use it. Ordering, super easy. Just go onto their website, fully digital, answer a couple questions, order it, it'll be delivered to your door. And so don't wait until disaster strikes or nuclear bombs strike. Check out our friends at the Wellness Company. Links are in the description below. And we see these headlines and they're not looking good. So twc.health/Robert, twc.health/Robert. You'll save up to $40 and you'll get free shipping. These kits are only available in the United States. And shout out to our friends at the Wellness Company. So hopefully we make it through the show without being incinerated. All right, so let's get to it, my friends. Here's the big story of the day. Matt Gaetz is out. A big surprise. Matt Gaetz had just come off a successful trip to Capitol Hill. He was meeting with senators. The Ethics Committee in the House of Representatives had decided that they were not going to release the report. And we thought, okay, we were in for a fight, going to be a big one, but we were looking forward to it in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee so that they could make their claim as to why Matt Gaetz was not qualified, but people like Merrick Garland are, people like Lisa Monaco are. And we wanted to get into it, but now, not going to happen. Matt Gaetz posted this, Trump has responded, and we got two questions we're trying to answer here today. One, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Was Gaetz pushed out? Was Gaetz a shiny object in the first place that we speculated he could have been from the very beginning? Well, that's an interesting one. He'll draw a lot of the fire. He'll draw a lot of the ammunition. You'll squeeze through Tulsi, RFK, Kristi Noem, and the list goes on because all the attention was on Gaetz. So that was one possibility. Maybe Gaetz is just recognizing that there's just too much firepower here and he doesn't want to be a distraction. And so we can take him at his word and just say, well, it's a little bit too much and he doesn't want to deal with it. And he wants this administration to not have this political aggression surrounding it. There could be other possibilities. There could be more to the story that he doesn't want to come out. And so maybe he's trying to withdraw from this. So we're trying to answer that question. And number two, what happens to Gaetz next? Is he going to go back to Congress? Is he going to be appointed to Senate? Can he go back to Congress? Some people say yes, others say no. So we'll answer those. But here's what Gaetz said. Now, I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. That's what we thought. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, Matt Gaetz says, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. Gaetz says, I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. I will forever be honored that President Trump nominated me to lead the Department of Justice, and I'm certain he will save America. Me too, Mr. Gaetz. So this is what the president said in response. Trump posted this on Truth. Caroline Leavitt, the incoming press secretary, has explained and shared this for us. The president said, I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. He was doing very well, but at the same time did not want to be a distraction for the administration, for which he has much respect. Matt has a wonderful future, and I look forward to watching all of the great things he will do. Very short and sweet statement from the president. And what we've heard is that Gaetz called Trump. Here was what was being reported over on Fox. In other words, Trump did not call Gaetz.
You guys always seem to get all the breaking news right on America Report. So this brand new news breaking just moments ago on social media, and we're trying to see exactly what's going to happen here in Palm Beach, Florida at Mar-a-Lago, where the Trump transition team is working hard as this all just came out. I just got off the phone a short time ago with a member of the Trump transition team who is telling me they want to make something very clear here, that they say former Representative Matt Gaetz came to this conclusion on his own to drop out. Okay, so that just coming into our newsroom a short time ago. They say, though, in this post, according to the former president and now President-elect Trump, this: I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. He was doing very well, but at the same time did not want to be a distraction for this administration, for which he has much respect. Matt has a wonderful future, and I look forward to watching all of the great things he will do. But this comes, as Chad was explaining, after he seemed pretty optimistic just yesterday. I mean, it was just hours ago out there in Capitol Hill, walking around the Capitol Hill area in those hallways with a smile on his face, saying that he thought the meetings went well, but then posted that he had incredible support, but that the momentum was strong, but it was just becoming a big distraction. So distraction seems to be the name of the game here as this Attorney General pick kind of came to the surface. What's going to be next? I asked the Trump transition team about that. Well, since the news only broke about 20 minutes ago, they're still trying to figure out what's going to be next in terms of a short list and going through more and more interviews. Before Gaetz, though, we know Senator Mike Lee, a Republican of Utah, he was named as one of the top possible picks.
Mike
also
Lee,
John Ratcliffe, a former director of national intelligence. So there's some other names that are rolling into the newsroom. But back out here live, the Trump transition team telling Fox News moments ago that former Representative Matt Gaetz came to this conclusion on his own. They say it was not forced. It was just becoming such a huge distraction that he made this decision. So now back to the drawing board we go, and that drawing board is at Mar-a-Lago, where the former president is working hard.
All right, so interesting dynamic. Trump's not saying it's too much pressure for us. Trump is going to be behind him regardless. Matt Gaetz said, how about we just pull the ejection cord and get on out of here? Now, there was this story breaking simultaneously, and so some people are saying, well, maybe one thing is that there's truth to the story, and this is the problem, is that it is just going to continue to keep coming and compound day after day after day. And whether it's true or not, it is going to be a distraction. I mean, we saw how much of a battle it was to get Kavanaugh confirmed. And those were ridiculous allegations that were obviously being exaggerated, created, and exploited by the Democrats, in my opinion, to go after Kavanaugh. We've seen the same pattern happen with Trump and the Bergdorf, in the dressing room at Bergdorf's and so on. But when you just have a constant onslaught of it, it really does become problematic politically. And so you could also say to Gaetz that Gaetz is just saying enough, right? We're not going to smear this incoming administration, allow the media to do that. And he wants to keep arm length away. So here's the exclusive from CNN. They said that the woman who says that she had intercourse when she was a minor said she had 2 other encounters with him at a party. The woman who was underage testified the second encounter, which had not been reported, included another adult woman, and both encounters were in a civil deposition. Okay, and we talked about this yesterday. We went through Gaetz' entire defense, essentially, and it was quite compelling that the people who are the subject of these claims were lying, and they were coerced to lie by the person who's in custody, or was in custody, and trying to get his sentence reduced because he had some very problematic images on his PC. Okay, so he's going away for a long time. So he needed to give them something, and this is the same DOJ that's responsible for prosecuting our J6ers, Trump, Bannon, Navarro, and everybody else, the Catholics, and more. So after being asked for comment, right, so CNN is saying, we reached out to him about this new claim. Then Gaetz announced that he was backing out. Gaetz has denied this repeatedly. Gaetz and Trump were working to lock down support. The other woman who was an adult at the time denied participating in the second encounter, okay, according to multiple sources. Don't you love how they bury that at the bottom? It's like the, sixth sentence, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. The other woman who was an adult denied it! Thank you for that. The Justice Department closed its investigation of Gaetz last year after prosecutors recommended that no criminal charges be brought against him. Thank you for bearing the lead. The House Ethics Committee revived its investigation of the Florida lawmaker once the DOJ concluded its case. They couldn't prosecute him. CNN admits it. They're like, well, there's a whole nother claim. So they're using this as the basis to say this is why Gaetz ejected. But here's Kaitlan Collins, very short clip.
One senior Republican on the Judiciary Committee, which will vet Gaetz, is revealing what he told him during their meeting, with Senator John Cornyn telling CNN that he warned, quote, everything's eventually going to come out.
Okay. Matt Gaetz put a pretty extensive explanation that we covered here yesterday. And I'm going to guess that the stuff is still going to come out. Somebody's going to leak this stuff at some point in time. So the idea that Matt Gaetz is escaping any follow-up on this, I think is unrealistic because they're not going to let up on it. So that is their basis for all of this. We've got reaction from Rana and some other senators coming up in a second. But what is going to happen next for Gaetz? Now, he's not going to be in front of the Senate being cross-examined by everybody. Is he going to return back to the House of Representatives? Is that even possible? I've seen a lot of conversation about this today, and I thought it was a great question. Didn't know much about it. Saw it from Nick Sortor. I think Jack Posobiec has also mentioned it, and others, saying, hello, Gaetz only resigned from the 118th Congress. That's this one. But he was just elected to serve in the next one, which begins in January. And so he still, if he wants to be, representative-elect. Right? That's the argument. Oh, that's pretty clever. Is that how this works? Well, we remember that when they came out and did the resignation reading, this is what it sounded like. And I do believe we played this here before. But once again, she reads it and she says that Gaetz says, I do not intend to take the oath for the 119th, which will be the next incoming Congress in January. But he didn't say unequivocal. It's just intent. And as we know, intentions can change.
The chair lays before the House of Communications.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir, I hereby resign as a United States Representative for Florida's 1st Congressional District, effective immediately, and I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office in the 119th Congress to pursue the position of Attorney General in the Trump administration. Signed sincerely, Matt Gaetz, Member of Congress.
Under Clause 5D of Rule 20, the chair announces to the House that in light of the resignation of the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gaetz, the whole number of the House is 433.
Okay, so resigned unequivocally from, if you just parse that statement, I resign from this Congress. So effective immediately, it's done. And I do not intend to run for the next, or to take the oath in the next Congress. Okay, but that's just intention. That's waffle language, man. That's squirrely language there. Oh, so your intentions change. It happens all the time. you go out for dinner and you intend to order the salad, but you don't. A hamburger is going to be necessary that evening. So it happens all the time. Intentions are nice, but they're not unequivocal. Matt Gaetz could have said, and I will not take the oath, right? It says, rather than I do not intend to take the oath. I will not take the oath for the 119th Congress. Could have easily said that. But he didn't. He said, I do not intend to. So maybe it'll change. Now, others are saying that's enough. Just because he said, I do not intend to, that's enough. This person came out, Derek T. Mueller, and he's a professor of law in maybe North Dakota, election law, federal courts, and so on. Mueller rhymes with duller. Says, Gaetz's resignation letter to DeSantis notes, he says, quote, he does not intend to take the oath of office for the same. Okay, he said that in writing as well, not just in the writing to Congress, but also to Ron. Pursuant to longstanding House precedent, he says that's enough to trigger a vacancy. He can't take office on January 3rd, says this guy. Now let's see. Here's the letter. So he wrote, resignation, or this is in the official recording, resignation from the House of Speaker of Representatives. The Speaker pro tem laid before the House the following resignation from the House of Representatives. Honorable Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, I hereby resign as United States Representative for Florida's 1st Congressional District, effective immediately. And I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office in the 119th Congress to pursue the position of Attorney General in the Trump administration. But since he is no longer pursuing that position, it's invalidating of the basis for his original intention. Respectfully, Matt Gaetz. Now, then he sent this one to the governor. This one goes to Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. Dear Governor DeSantis, I hereby resign as United States Representative for the 1st District, effective immediately, same letter, and I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office to pursue the position of Attorney General. He's no longer pursuing that, so his intentions have changed, if he wants. We don't even know what Matt Gaetz wants. Does he want to go back to Congress? Who knows? But that's what the letter says, right? Intent, 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 and intentions can change. So he also referenced this. He says, this is what the rule says. A member-elect may resign, is what this says, before taking the oath. Okay, so now, did he resign from the 118th? That was unequivocal. I hereby resign effective immediately. Done, over, case closed. I will not take the oath in the 119th. He did not say that. So they give us some parallel cases. They say a member-elect having resigned, the House decided that the person elected as his successor was entitled to the seat. So they very early found the law of Parliament inapplicable when it comes to resignation. So here's a little backstory. We rewind the clock back to 1791, the founding days of America, November 9th. The Speaker of the House laid before the House a letter from the governor of Maryland. Enclosing a letter to him from William Pinckney, a member returned to serve in this House from Maryland, and it contained his resignation of his appointment. Also a return of John Francis Mercer, elected a member, to serve in the House in place of Pinckney. They came into the House. This Congress had organized. It sounds like Mr. Pinckney did not appear, and so he didn't qualify. And so they debated this. Wait a minute. He got elected, but then this guy resigned, and we sent this report in, and so all this is happening. So they brought it in. They debated this in the House of Representatives. It was urged on one side that they use the British Parliament rule. They said, no, in Britain, you can't permit resignations. This is ridiculous. You can't resign. You just got elected. You can't resign. Should be adhered to. And on the other, they said, well, why are we doing what the British did? We just beat the crap out of them. And there being no analogy between the House of Representatives, they said the Constitution doesn't say anything about prohibiting resignation. So we can allow people to resign if they want to. And it should be concluded that a member may resign if they want. Now, doubt was expressed during the debate However, as to whether the present case should be termed a resignation. So they debated that. Can you resign or not? You're allowed to do it. So it appears on November 23rd, the House adopted the resolution. And the resolution was as follows. They debated it. They said, it appears that at an election held for the state of Maryland in October 1st, 1790, William Pinckney was duly elected as a representative for that state to serve in the House, that the certificate of his election had been duly transmitted by the executive and was reported. Then he resigned. He won. They get the appointment. He resigns. And that in the consequence of the resignation, the governor then filled the vacancy, right? So he resigns, empty seat, governor fills the vacancy. It's kind of like Matt Gaetz right now. And have certified that John Francis Mercer was duly elected by virtue of a writ. So the governor substitutes him in, and that was allowed. And so it is the opinion of this committee that John Francis Mercer is entitled to take the seat in the House as one of the representatives for the state of Maryland in the stead of William Pinckney. Okay, that's fine. Like, that's great that all this happened. But what if Pinckney said, I will come in. So he's specifically, it looks like, resigning unequivocally for this incoming position. Matt Gaetz intended to. So it's not exactly apples and oranges. And if Gaetz, let's say the real hypothetical would be, what if Pinckney came back and said, you know what, actually, I want that position back. But by the way, this is also not the same. Okay, we're trying to compare apples and oranges here. They're trying to say that this means that Gaetz can't go back. Ron DeSantis hasn't appointed anybody yet. Ron DeSantis hasn't appointed John Francis Mercer. So we're distinguishing this case. This case is being used as evidence. This example is being used as evidence that Matt Gaetz cannot go back. Well, Ron DeSantis hasn't filled the seat. The seat is still vacant. And he hasn't unequivocally confirmed he's not going to be taking the oath. He just said he intended to not take the oath. So I think that is still open, actually. That case is not dispositive of it. In both his letters, he sent intent. And if Matt Gaetz wants to go back, I think there's a legal argument for it. Now, you might say it's maybe not the right political argument because he resigned, and it's kind of like a take back seats, like, well, you said you were leaving. Well, now I want to stay. But you said you were leaving. Well, now I want to stay. Well, would you kind of, but we understand what the basis was. So they asked a representative about this. This is a congressperson. Here's what he says. He's in Congress.
I know this was a Senate matter taking up these cabinet choices of the president-elect, but Matt Gaetz, as you know, your colleague from Florida, stepped out of this contest. I don't know what he's going to do. Could he conceivably return to the House?
Oh, I think so, Neil, because I think it's hard to resign from a Congress that isn't in session yet. And that's the 119th Congress, which he's been elected to. So I think that in order for the Speaker to accept a resignation, it's probably going to have to be the Speaker that's elected in the 119th. Mike Johnson will be the Speaker in the 119th, but we're currently in the 118th. So anything's possible. This is Washington, Neil. Expect the unexpected. That's how I look at it. But yeah, I think the time will still tell.
I know.
Interesting, huh? Interesting. Yeah, and here's another great point here from Will H. Will H says, I respectfully disagree, Rob. I believe that in accordance with the 1791 decision, the man who was elected to that position to fill Matt's spot is Matt. So you can splice it that way too. I love it. It's brilliant, right? So it's like in the comparison that we were just trying to compare the case against the other case, looking at this here, it would almost be like if Pinckney was subbing in Mercer, you just replace Pinckney subbing in Pinckney again. He's subbing himself in. It's just Pinckney subbing Gaetz back in. So we'll see. Now, it sounds like, right, if the House is open to it, if that representative, Jason Smith, and others are open to it, it's the House's rules in many ways, right? Are they going to allow him to be seated? And will Ron exercise appointment power or fight any of this if Matt Gaetz wants to go back? We'll see. We'll have to wait and see what Gaetz says about it. Does Gaetz even want to go back to Congress? We haven't heard that yet. So we've got reaction on this. We got Ron Johnson's here, and here's what he said when he was on with Fox this afternoon.
It's time for Donald Trump to put forward a serious nominee for Attorney General who will fight for equal justice for all Americans. Your thoughts, your reaction to that, Senator Johnson?
Well, again, what Durbin would like is somebody from the good old boys club, and that's what Trump had in his first term. And he realized that within the Department of Justice, the FBI, other agencies, there were people, deep state actors, that undermined, in some cases, sabotaged his administration. So he's had 4 years to contemplate that. He's coming in far more wary, much more aware. And, listen, I love the pick, for example, of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to head up the Department of Government Efficiency.
To the moon.
Again, this sitting outside the government. These people are going to push the envelope, and they're going to be making suggestions and recommendations that President Trump needs the secretaries to implement, to have the courage to engage in the battle. It's not going to be easy. I'm old enough to remember Bill Clinton say the era of big government is over. Sure. No, it's not. It has expanded almost exponentially. They're not going to go quietly in the night. So this is going to be a pitched battle. President Trump needs warriors inside these departments and agencies.
You better believe it, he does. And he's got a nice crew on deck. We're looking forward to the current list of appointments coming in. And so here was a little bit from CNN, and they're doing their report. They brought on Ronna Daniels.
I think the numbers weren't there. He came here, he met with senators, they started doing the math.
McDaniel.
It was becoming a distraction. This was dominating the news. We were seeing the drip, drip, drip. And he did what I think is the right thing. He put his loyalty to the president first. He said, I don't want to be a distraction to this administration and getting the work done that President Trump needs to get done, and I'm going to withdraw my name. And I think a lot of people agree with this decision.
You were around, and I'm sure you had encounters with Matt Gaetz as the chair of the party. Just kind of taking a step back, the idea that he made some enemies in the House where he served.
She hates Gaetz and Trump and Republicans so much she can't even hide it. It's emanating from her pores. You had some encounters? Like, relax, lady. Golly.
And the United States Senate. How did that play into this?
Yeah, I think it was hard for some of these senators and others. He trolled them. He went after them. He wasn't going to win a congeniality contest. And then suddenly he's in a position where he's saying, I need your support and I need your vote. The one thing I can say about Matt Gaetz is he is unequivocally loyal to Donald Trump. And he always has been. He's been steadfast. And
good. That's why we wanted him in the AG's office. We're tired of the institutional loyalists, the people who are committed to the deep state over their country. Enough of them. We're tired of them. So Matt Gaetz, we'll see what is next for him, but will not be the AG's office as it stands. Other senators weighing in. Tom Tillis says, I respect Matt Gaetz's decision to withdraw and appreciate his desire to ensure the success of President Trump's transition. Priority number one for the new Senate GOP majority is to confirm Trump's team as quickly as possible when we take back the gavels in January. So that's good news. Lindsey Graham said, I respect former Representative Matt Gaetz's decision to withdraw his name from consideration and appreciate his willingness to serve at the highest level of our government. He is very smart and talented and will continue to contribute to our nation's well-being for years to come. I look forward to working with President Trump regarding future nominees to get this important job up and running. And here was another clip from other senators. They're saying that guess who's coming up next? Soon as they took Gaetz out, they're going to just refocus their sights on Pete Hegseth. Hegseth. I get tongue-tied on his name. Pete Hegseth, who is going to be the Secretary of Defense. And they're already ramping up these allegations. You're seeing more and more headlines emerge.
Team should have done a better vetting job.
Well, the more you do up front, the less you have to do on the back end.
I think this nomination is doomed. It should never have been made. It was never vetted.
And Dana, just moments ago, Pete Hegseth emerged in the hallways of the Capitol and spoke to reporters about these meetings and about these allegations and said, as far as the media is concerned, I'll keep this very simple. The matter was fully investigated and I was completely cleared. That's where I'm going to leave it. The question, though, is that enough to win over 51 senators, really 50 Republican senators, especially if Democrats plan to vote against this nomination? Big questions as he meets the Republicans today. And then, of course, we'll have his confirmation hearings early next year.
All right. So Pete Hegseth will be the next person on deck and we'll be here covering it. Here's what it sounded like when he addressed this in the halls of Congress.
I want to thank the President of the United States for this amazing, humbling opportunity to be nominated to lead the Department of Defense. It's an incredible opportunity that we do not take lightly. I just want to thank the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, who spent the morning with me, meeting with senators of the United States. We take very seriously the advice and consent role that the U.S. Senate has. We look forward to engaging in that process. We take absolutely nothing for granted, and we open the opportunity to talk to any senator that wants to talk to us.
Did you sexually assault a woman in Monterey, California?
I have, as far as the media is concerned, I'll keep this very simple. The matter was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much.
All right, but they don't care about that, Pete. So they're just going to keep digging and digging and digging, and they're going to turn something that is nothing into something because that's what they do. And we'll be here covering it. Thank you for subscribing, my friends. Pete is next in the lineup, and so we'll see what happens as they target him next. All right, now let's turn our attention to what's happening on this J6 matter because this is an interesting report from the chairman. The DOD concealed evidence in their J6 investigations. Shocking, I know. But this is a new report that explains exactly how they did it and why it's so problematic. The report comes from the Oversight Subcommittee. Chairman Loudermilk sent this letter out after he dropped a press release that is going to the Inspector General of the DOD. And remember, the DOD was highly involved in this. We had Mark Milley and Acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller, who were telling President Trump that they were going to be there securing the premises at the Capitol. They didn't do that. Trump also wanted National Guard there. That was rejected. And so they said that they did their due diligence and reported everything appropriately. Turns out not true. So we've got that, and they reference this infamous clip from inside the Capitol with Schumer and Nancy Pelosi doing their live action role play of being insurrected. We know that Nancy Pelosi in other videos later said, I was waiting for this, and then admitted responsibility. But here is the report. Oversight Subcommittee put this on their website, press release, fresh out of the oven, says today, the Committee on House Administration sent a letter to the DOD saying that they have factually been inaccurate in their reports. Now, after a thorough investigation, the subcommittee uncovered evidence substantiating that the DOD intentionally delayed the deployment of the D.C. National Guard on January 6th. And this is a point that is not brought up enough, and I'm so glad that it is. If you read Stephen Sun's book in Courage Under Fire, then you'll see what he said in there, that they did not deploy the National Guard to the Capitol, but they did deploy it to their individual locations, so to their families. And I'll have to find that excerpt specifically. But Stephen Sun said they protected their families, but not the Capitol. So they knew how to deploy the National Guard, but they didn't do it to the Capitol. Why? Because they wanted it to happen. In addition, the DOD Inspector General, the person who is supposed to inspect this and write a fair and proper report for us, concealed the extent and cause of the delay to protect the DOD and the Pentagon leadership. The subcommittee found multiple instances where the DOD failed to disclose evidence that contradicted the DOD's erroneous conclusion. Now, I want to look this up real quick because this is flagging something in Stephen Sun's book, and I have that pulled up right now. Stephen Sun wrote about this And here's what they said in his book, Courage Under Fire. He talks about Michael Fanone. He was that cop that we got a lot of concerns with. 3:15, he came in. At 3:19, the highest levels of congressional leadership begin calling the Pentagon, demanding help from them and use of the military. Both Pelosi and Schumer are told the use of the National Guard has been approved, but that the ground guard still will not arrive on the Hill for another 2 hours. You see that? Schumer and Pelosi are unaware that I've just gotten off the phone with the Pentagon in my conference call. The military will report they spent the next 90 minutes developing a plan. All I asked for was for them to establish a perimeter. Now, it turns out, even though the military isn't sending, look at this, Mike Pence is now tweeting, 3:35. This is from Stephen Sund's book. I highly recommend it. Pence tweets from his secure location on the Hill. The violence must stop, said Mike Pence. Then look, at 3:37, even though the military isn't sending resources, this is Capitol Hill Chief of Police Stephen Sund, who was there on scene, who was asked to resign by Nancy Pelosi. Even though the military isn't sending resources to the Capitol in response to my urgent pleas for help, the Pentagon is sending resources to protect the homes of military leaders. Oh! Their own security forces are guarding their homes, even though no rioters or criminal attacks are occurring at those locations. This demonstrates to me, Capitol Hill, that the Pentagon fully understands the urgency and the danger of the situation, even as it does nothing to support us on the Hill. Isn't that incredible? You call them, you say, hey, we're under attack. They say, oh, sure, we got tons of resources for our family, our families. We protect our buildings, our people, but they're just going to let the Capitol just burn, okay? Which they weren't even burning. It was a 4-hour riot, right, that they were instigating by shooting people in the face with projectiles. This is the Capitol Hill Chief of Police, Stephen Sund. They were protecting their properties. They were not protecting the Capitol. And there was plenty of time for them to send those resources that they sent to their homes to the Capitol. And I got to just say, as many times as I can, thank you to Stephen Sund for writing this book and for putting this stuff in there. This is evidence of guilt in my mind. They could have protected the building. They didn't. And now they're getting called out on this. So you can see this letter that we'll read through says the DOD's report didn't talk about that. Reflects an alarming failure to adequately evaluate the actions of senior DOD officials. Says my subcommittee looked into this. Now there's this never before seen footage from HBO. Apparently we've not seen this before, showing the Secretary of the Army's false statements to congressional leadership. At 3:18, Secretary McCarthy tells sheltering members of Congress he is not blocking deployment of the National Guard. While referencing the D.C. National Guard, he says, we have the green light, we're moving. However, the Secretary of the Army's own timeline indicates that the D.C. National Guard did not physically leave the armory until 5 p.m. All right? So Kev says at 3:18, we got the green light, send them in. No, they wait until 5 p.m. They wanted it to happen, okay? They were filming it, waiting for it. It was all an op. The DOD was saying, why don't you go check on my wife first? Given the D.C. National Guard's history of success, supporting both federal government and responding to civil unrest, that's why they're there, and the significant role of the Guard, it's essential that the Inspector General's report, which is fake, accurately reflects objective facts so we can identify serious problems of abuse. You have not done that now. In March, National Guard of 2021, so right after January 6th, National Guard Major General William Walker testified before Congress that the Guard's response to the Capitol was delayed by senior DOD officials. Who could that be? In April of this year, Colonel Earl Matthews, Major General Walker's legal advisor, and others testified before Congress that the Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, was not in communication with the Guard, and their response to the Capitol was most certainly delayed by the Army. These key personnel were intentionally not included as witnesses by the DOD. Didn't want to talk to them, okay? Because they'll expose it. The subcommittee is deeply concerned that they didn't even interview these witnesses who would have given a contradictory report to your conclusions. So you just interviewed the people you wanted to talk to, and you're completely biased as a result. So here is what the letter to this Inspector General, Robert Storch, says. They say, all right, listen, Inspector General, it was your job to go through and investigate this appropriately. They say the committee is tasked with investigating what happened at the Capitol. As you know, on November 16, 2021, the DOD Inspector General wrote a report. This report was the final report of the DOD Inspector General, so the Department of Defense, Milley and them, and their review into the events and how the DOD responded with the National Guard. While the subcommittee appreciates your crucial review of the records, the report left many unanswered questions. And they wrote that report pretty quickly, right? January 6th was January 6th. They wrote the report in November. Given the DC National Guard's history of having success in these situations, we need to identify these problems. So how come they couldn't respond to this time? And we've identified numerous flaws and inaccuracies in your report. They write, after a thorough examination of emails and documents, letters, memos, agreements, plans, reports, and more, we also had closed-door testimony. We have concluded that the Department of Defense intentionally delayed the deployment of the DC National Guard to the Capitol on January 6th. Yeah. Furthermore, the subcommittee also maintains that the DOD Inspector General knowingly concealed the extent of the delay in constructing a narrative that's favorable to the DOD and to the Pentagon. They went as fast as they could. They were racing. It was chaos. In March of 2021, the DC National Guard Walker testified, saying, yeah, it was delayed by the Army. One of the most damaging claims that we saw are quotes that are attributed to non-senior Army individuals. They claimed that Major General Walker's March 2021 testimony were mischaracterized, contradicting, and not true. They say, as you know, a witness who lies to Congress can be convicted of perjury, and so publishing these comments without any substantiating evidence was negligent and reckless. The claim that one of the things that Major Walker said was that the National Guard had all their equipment on their trucks, that's not an accurate statement, they said. And so we need more information about all these. You publish these statements as part of the historical record. They tell us that your report concludes, you said in your report where you said they did everything great, that the DOD's actions to prepare for and respond to the protests were appropriate and that were supported by the requirements and that they were reasonable in light of the circumstances. However, the subcommittee disagrees with you on those things. Here are what we want to be investigated more fully. Why did Secretary McCarthy's failures to communicate the Secretary of Defense's order to the commander? We need more information about this. Why did he fail it? Why didn't they immediately deploy forces to the Capitol at 3:04? Why did it take until 5 o'clock, 2 hours? We want more information about the failure of the Secretary to communicate to the commander between 2 and 4 p.m., which is when the riot was happening. The report states that calls took place despite both parties stating under oath that the calls never took place. Why did you say that they did in your report when they said that they didn't? Failure to review the purpose and the significant delay incurred for the development was neither requested nor utilized, and nobody's ever looked into this. You also found that the DC National Guard was not prepared for civil disturbance. But that's ridiculous because Secretary McCarthy recently got comprehensive briefings on their capabilities, and they were even doing rehearsals for civil disturbances. So the fact that you, as the Inspector General, could not adequately review these things and other DOD actions informs our opinion and our finding, wow, that the DOD Inspector General is complicit in intentionally concealing the Department of Defense actions to delay the National Guard response on January 6th. Wow. The Inspector General is as corrupt as the DOD. Shocking. Now, the subcommittee appreciates the important work of Inspector Generals, and in particular, you guys are great. And so for that reason, we have worked with you guys in good faith. We want additional materials on this. Now, in comments provided to the subcommittee in response to a discrepancy, the DOD IG responded with, they said, quote, well, you have a problem with our report. They said, well, as a fundamental matter, it is neither unreasonable nor unusual that witnesses to particular events involving stressful, fast-paced, multifaceted activities, that's what they always say. Hey, how come your stories don't align with themselves? How come, like, you said you were here at this time, but you were really over here, which means you're a liar and that your credibility is shot and the rest of your testimony against this defendant should be thrown out. How come they can get away with this by saying it's just stressful rather than being called liars? They may recall, they say, but not others. So people just can't recall. In response to another discrepancy, they said, well, the description of the circumstances document the frenetic pace under which the secretary and his immediate staff were operating. Obviously, they were not operating at a frenetic pace because it took 2 hours to get the guard out. As a result, we're not surprised by their lack of memory and their uncertainty. They say, what? That's it? That's your take? Inventing a critical phone call between the secretary and the general in the absence of any evidence violates everything. Yeah, you can misremember certain things like times or specifics like what did they look like and things, but you just made up a phone call to say that they were responding to this when they weren't. A report that includes bias and incomplete statements to favor the DOD and the Army while disparaging the National Guard fails to represent the Inspector General's philosophy of being unbiased and independent. Therefore, the committee says in Congress, we are left with no choice but to reject your report and request that you formally publish a correction on behalf of the 10,400 congressional staff members and 535 members of Congress who put on gas masks and ran from the Capitol building while the D.C. National Guard sat on buses waiting less than 2 miles from the Capitol because of a lack of communication from Secretary McCarthy. Yeah, right. They just can we get off the bus to go? Nope, you're good. You're good. Just right there. We need them to do some more damage. On June 4th, the subcommittee reached out to the Council of the Inspector Generals about integrity problems, saying it's wholly appropriate to take down what is wrong and replace it. So you're allowed to do this. You can fix your report. And so Congress is requesting a full correction to this report, saying that we're committed to continuing our good faith working relationship with you, but you can't lie about what you've done. Sincerely, Barry Loudermilk. And here's the video that they're saying is new material that is showing us some of these conversations.
Of our staff locked up and barricaded in their offices, so there's a critical situation and a risk of loss of life.
We have some senators who are still in their hideaways. They need massive personnel now. Can you get the Maryland National Guard to come too?
We can't. Mr. Secretary, obviously Prince George's County, I will call Angela Alsobrook, the county executive. I'm sure she'll deploy whatever we need deployed. Montgomery County as well, Fairfax and Arlington all have very significant forces.
Nancy, will you pull your mask up? You're going to kill everybody in the room.
I'm going to call the governor when I get off.
Good.
Who does she think she is?
Thank you.
Everybody else has their mask up.
I have something to say, Mr. Secretary. Well, I'm going to call the mayor of Washington,
and now
D.C.
she's talking
right
too.
now and see what other outreach she has to other police departments, as Senate Leader Hoyer has mentioned, and also that we can deliver the good news that you are now going to, instead of blocking the National Guard, that you will.
So there's more people in the Senate. I just had to get permission.
Who was blocking the National Guard? What'd she say? Somebody's blocking the National Guard? Who was that?
I had to talk to my boss.
And then did you talk to your boss? Or we?
I did, man. We have the green light from moving.
Okay.
Talk to me. I don't know how that word got out, but I never said that.
Thank you. Keep working. We need all the personnel we can get before someone gets hurt.
You mean before they shoot and kill Ashley Babbitt? Is that what you're talking about? Okay, which we'll talk about in another segment because that officer has a long list of gun problems. So you can see we have a bunch of D-level actors who are faking like they're doing something. I'm going to call the mayor. I'm going to call this person. I'm going to call this person. Great job. You can see why our government gets nothing done, because these are the people in charge. That's how they act in fake crises that they've created. Oh, you're going to call Muriel Bowser now? How come you didn't call her or encourage her to bring the National Guard when Trump said that he would do that and she rejected them in a written letter to them? The whole thing was fake and staged, and they instigated it. Now, when you ask them questions about this, when you say, where are you guys so we can have some oversight over our intelligence agencies, they don't even show up. There was supposed to be a hearing that took place today between the FBI Director Wray and Alejandro Mayorkas, Homeland Security, and they snubbed the Senate. And the Democrats are in control of the Senate. They're not snubbing Republicans, they're snubbing Democrats. This is how out of control our own agencies are. It's not like Mike Johnson is causing a ruckus and they're going to stamp their feet on it and say, well, this is ridiculous, which is also ridiculous because Congress is a co-equal branch of government. But they both snubbed them. This was on schedule. They already RSVP'd. Homeland Security Secretary and FBI Director Wray did not show up to provide testimony to a routine hearing scheduled on Thursday. It's the first time in 15 years that the agency heads have refused to appear publicly for the annual hearing. 15 years. They don't care. Senator Gary Peters, who represents Michigan, said Secretary Mayorkas and their refusal and Director Wray's refusal to speak publicly about their departments and their efforts to address threats to our nation robs Americans of critical information. The American people deserve transparency and accountability, we like those words, on these issues. Said in a shocking departure from the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee's long-standing tradition of transparency and oversight, for the first time in more than 15 years, our corrupt FBI and Homeland have refused to appear before the committee. Their choice not to provide public testimony about their department's efforts to address these critical threats America faces is bad. Americans deserve transparent public answers about the threats we face. Mayorkas and Wray's refusal to speak about this flout the committee's efforts to conduct responsible oversight and will deal a serious blow to trust in our government. Their claims that they can only relay such information in response to questions in a classified setting are entirely without merit. It cannot be the practice of the executive branch to deny the public critical information and disregard Congress's constitutionally recognized right to conduct oversight. I urge Mayorkas and Wray to honor the commitments they made to appear publicly at this hearing and to ensure that both Congress and we the people have the opportunity to hear directly about their agencies and how they're working to protect our national security. And that comes from Democrat Gary Peters. He's a senator from Michigan, and I don't know what his political party is. Let's see if I can find that relatively quickly. But Democrat, yeah, so he's a Democrat, right? They're in charge. He's in charge of the committee. So the intelligence agencies are not only snubbing the Republicans, they're also snubbing the Democrats because they're actually in charge. An FBI spokesperson said in a statement that the agency's leaders, they said, we've already testified extensively in public settings about the current threat environment, okay? And we believe the committee would benefit from a classified setting. They said, and plus we've already talked to you 30 times, okay? So just, you're lucky. The testimony would have been nice to hear, but they're just going to run and hide for the last 2 months because they're pathetic. They're pathetic. They're not even doing their jobs. And I cannot wait until Trump comes in January and we get some real oversight over these executive agencies, because it's detestable for them to snub their nose at all of America repeatedly. Johnson says Wray and Mayorkas refused to testify in public, claiming the threats facing America are so grave they can only be discussed in classified settings. If that's true, they need to acknowledge that the Biden-Harris administration is responsible for these grave dangers because of their open border policies. And we have Hawley saying this is Mayorkas and Wray giving the middle finger to the American people. Two of them, both of them. They are required by law to testify, and now they're saying it's good enough to post something on the website? Both of them are unfit for office. The Senate should subpoena them immediately and hold them in contempt. And I hope that they do. And maybe there's some bipartisan effort on this because the other Senator, Gary Peters, is a Democrat. So bring them in, Democrats. Let's have some bipartisan accountability here for these last 2 months. Even if you like them, don't you want to hear from them? Don't they deserve to come in front of us and answer some questions, even if they're on your team? They can't continue to hide. And they're not going to be able to forever. All right, now, we got one final update in and out of New York. This PDF comes courtesy of our friend Anna Bauer. And here's the update from New York. Looks like this. President Trump's team now demands a dismissal of the Alvin Bragg prosecution, where Trump was found guilty of those charges involving Michael Cohen and more. Now, this is what is dropped. It's a preview of another motion that will be coming down the pike at a later date. But November 17th is when this hit the docket. And what's so beautiful about these filings now is that they're being drafted by Todd, Blanche, and Emil Bove. Now, we know Matt Gaetz is not going to be the AG at the top of the AG's office, but Todd Blanche has already been nominated to be the deputy AG. That's number 2. Emil Bove has been number 3. Maybe they'll move up to slots 1 and 2, and then that third position will be open. Just saying, maybe. So what you can see is that this is a powerful letter now because it's coming from future prospective DOJ officials. That's the consequence of elections. So Todd Blanche, just a week ago, was just a really smart, nice defense attorney, very smart guy, representing the president, doing an amazing job. Now he's going to be Deputy AG, baby. So kind of has a different vibe to it. I like it. It's got a good ring. So you can see he sent this one in. All right, Judge Merchan, we're not playing around anymore, all right? Let's get down to business. Immediate dismissal of this case is mandated by the federal Constitution, the Presidential Transition Act, the interest of justice, and more. This is going to be necessary in order to facilitate the orderly transition of executive power following President Trump's overwhelming victory in the election. Therefore, we respectfully submit this pre-motion letter, the bigger one's coming soon, to request permission to file a motion to dismiss by December 20th pursuant to the law. Now, as Bragg engages in his own election campaign. Bragg's office appears to not yet be ready to dismiss this politically motivated and fatally flawed case, which is mandated by the law and will happen as justice takes its course. However, the DOJ is reportedly preparing to dismiss the federal cases against Trump and will report its final decision in December. Now, as in those cases, dismissal is necessary here. Why? Well, the Constitution forbids placing into the hands of a single prosecutor and grand jury the practical power to interfere with the presidency, because that makes no sense at all. That makes that prosecutor more powerful than the president. Just as a sitting president is completely immune from any criminal process, so too is President Trump as president-elect. Federal law provides for the orderly transfer of executive powers in connection with the expiration of one president and a new. The president-elect is called upon probably to make more fateful decisions than he will have to make after he is even sworn in. There exists the greatest public interest in providing the president with the maximum ability to deal fearlessly and impartially with the duties of his office. This interest attaches to the ongoing transition activities, which are an integral part of any presidential administration, and it's in the national interest that Trump can do that. He's preparing to govern based on the most powerful national mandate established by the presidential election. And so thus, the Presidential Transition Act requires all officers of the government take appropriate lawful steps to avoid or to minimize disruptions that might be occasioned during this transfer. And so you, Bragg, and Merchan, and Matthew Colangelo, and so just by the way, Emil Bove is basically going to be replacing, Colangelo left the DOJ and then went to go start up this little franchise, this Trump prosecution franchise. There are many of them set up. Prosecutions Are Us or something. He set up one. He thought, oh, it's going to be great. I think his strategy probably was, he will leave as number 3, go do this dirty work, then Biden would win again, then he'd come back as number 2, or maybe even number 1 at some point. But he lost, and so Matthew Colangelo, all of his eggs were in the Stop Trump basket, and they're smushed now. Sorry, Matt. We're not sorry. Here's another one. As this continues, they say, continuing with this case would be uniquely destabilizing and threaten to hamstring the operation of the government. Any disruption to this transfer could be detrimental to America. And so there can be no burdens in place. In fact, in other cases, in the Supreme Court case, Alvin Bragg conceded at oral argument before the Supreme Court. He even admitted, he said, courts are empowered to impose a wide variety of limitations, including, if necessary, to shut an investigation or a litigation down, where the matter presents a real burden to the president. He said, well, it has to be a real burden. Well, we already know what that is. The Presidential Transition Act establishes that the burden here is all too real. And you admitted that you can close cases when there's a burden. Under these unprecedented and dangerous circumstances, the law provides for a mechanism for dismissing this case, and the Supremacy Clause requires it. So Trump's defense team and newly appointed AG officials tell us, we request a December 20th deadline to file the full brief so that President Trump has the opportunity to address in that submission the positions that were taken by the Department of Justice in the federal cases. This is the state case. The court must address these new issues and dismiss the case prior to issuing a decision on the previously filed immunity motion. You have to go in sequence. Any other action would obviously violate the presidential immunity doctrine. Even if the court were to wrongfully deny the motion, which you shouldn't, Trump's going to appeal it. So there's going to be a lot happening. If you go the wrongful approach, then we'll appeal it and it will be back here to do this all over again. So to the extent the court plans to deny any of this, Trump requests, if you deny it, grant us a stay because we're appealing. On November 5th, the nation's people issued a mandate that supersedes the political motivations of Alvin Bragg's people. this case must be immediately dismissed. That felt good. Todd, Blanche, Emil Bove. We're coming into the DOJ soon enough. And your so-called people got overruled by the American people, Alvin. So dismiss this case at once. And those are two much more powerful people now as a result of that very election. So a nice filing from Blanche Law, and we're excited to see what Judge Mercan does with it. He's probably getting pretty nervous now. Now, meanwhile, in New York, this is being reported by Kyle Becker, says that a Manhattan DA assistant was robbed. That's Alvin Bragg's office. She was robbed in her apartment building early on Sunday morning by a Venezuelan gang member. A man was caught performing a lewd act in the hallway. Prosecutor encountered the suspect at 2 a.m., dropped her phone. The man grabbed her phone and ran. Then the police traced the phone back to a migrant shelter. Oh. The suspect was apprehended and booked after a manhunt. Oh no, here's the story.
Smiling, Brandon Somoza being led out of the Midtown South Precinct on West 35th Street this morning. Police say at about 2 a.m. Sunday, he robbed a 38-year-old woman in the hallway of her Hell's Kitchen apartment building. He allegedly grabbed her purse, cell phone, and bank cards and also performed a lewd act. The victim is a Manhattan assistant DA. She was not injured. Police traced her stolen cell phone to a hotel on West 45th Street, which led them to believe the suspect is a migrant, and they were able to track him down. Somoza was arrested just last night. Police say he was using drugs on the street and had stolen items with him. Police believe he is part of Tren de Aragua. That's the Venezuelan gang that has preyed on people in Times Square and Central Park.
Great.
Somoza is facing a number of counts, including sexually motivated robbery and burglary. He also has 6 prior arrests, all from this year on similar crimes.
Great.
And he's believed to have arrived in the U.S. in February of 2023. In Lower Manhattan, Lauren Glassberg, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Perfect. They love that there in New York, I think, or maybe they don't anymore. They did. New York was very much no human is illegal in my eyes. All are welcome. Coexist bumper stickers on everybody's forehead. Then they get some illegal migrants in there, and all of a sudden, Mayor Adams is like, whoop, afuera, you know? And we'll see if this changes the prosecutor and the posture from that office at all. Currently, they're focused on President Trump. They've got much bigger problems in New York City to focus on. All right, my friends. Now, it's been a beautiful stream. And I'm very grateful you're here. If you're just joining us and you joined us late, quick recap. We went through a bunch of the Matt Gaetz stuff. So his statement, Trump's statement, we talked about the rules here. And there was another rule, which I think we didn't actually hit this one. But they said that a resignation of a House member may not be withdrawn, which I think I don't think that's that consequential, right? He can't withdraw his resignation from the 118th, but he can still intend to take the oath in the 19th. So talked about that. Talked about some other possibilities. And based on the rules and based on some precedent, can Gaetz come back for the 119th? And I think the answer is yeah, he can, especially if Congress decides that their rules say that he can. Gaetz was not forced out. Trump did not push him out. Gaetz called Trump. Reaction from senators. And now we know will go over to Pete Hegseth, and he'll be next on the docket for smears about more nonsense. Then we talked about the J6 report and learned how they suppressed evidence about the response of the National Guard. We know that Stephen Sund's book said that they sent the National Guard to their own houses, but not to the people's house, and allowed the rioting to continue intentionally while they were instigating it. And that report was interesting, showing us to the extent and the length that the Inspector General went to not interview people and to help bury evidence of their own negligence and delay. Watched a little bit more of these fake actors, and then talked about why our intelligence agencies continue to snub Congress and not care about the American people at all. And then lastly, we had a quick update out of New York. Trump's team demanding a dismissal, and their team gets more powerful every single day as January 20th gets closer. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. Thank you so much for your amazing donos, your support. Thanks for becoming membos. We love our membos. Membos, if you just joined, don't forget to grab the stream from this morning. We talked about a bunch of other topics today. And we also have a members only after party. So if you're a YouTube member and you want to join our Telegram group and stick around after this show is over for a bit, go to the community tab section on YouTube, scroll down, grab the Telegram link, and we'll see you on the after party. What's going on? We got some friends. Donut is clipping for us, saying, "Happy Thursday, have a rockin' day, meow, meow, meow," in the house. Thank you, Donut. Hey, Don't Matter just became a supporter. Welcome aboard. Brand new membo. Ollie is bringing in James Kelly. Welcome, James Kelly. And thank you, Ollie, for bringing in James Kelly. The Midwest Express, what's up, says, "Let's go." Good to see you, the Midwest Express. 10th super chat, double digits now. Thank you, Midwest. Hey, Venus Gonzalez says, "Help beat the YouTube algorithm. Like this video, subscribe to this video, and comment on this video." Thank you, Venus Gonzalez. We appreciate all those things. And invite a friend over here. That'd be great too. Hey, Glocky says, "WTF just happened at Mar-a-Lago?" I saw some reports on that there was apparently a bunch of ambulances or something, but then I saw other reports that was not a real report. So I don't know. Randy Retired says, "Have you put your name in for AG?" I don't think we got the qualifications for AG, and that's a pretty big job. I mean, unless we can live stream from the AG's office, that must be pretty cool. Can we set up a live stream division? I kind of want to be in charge of the J6 prosecutions for 5 minutes and then be the director of justice live streams. Does that position open? Hey, Granny Joe. 9 months. I have arrived. 9 months as a baby. Granny Joe says, "It's a girl." Amazing, Granny Joe. We have a new baby in the house. Thank you, Granny Joe, for being here, supporting us 9 months. I guess I'm happy it's a girl. I guess that's fine. I mean, I guess I'll love her too. Thank you, Granny Joe, for being here. Glocky says, "Never mind. I just think it's a normal convoy." Yeah, see 2 ambulances and vehicles carrying Secret Service. No word on who's involved. Yeah, I don't know. I saw the reports on it, but I'm not sure if it's a real thing or not. Part of Vance's entourage, somebody says. Knox says. Yeah, we're always keeping our eye on it. I mean, you never know. Since he's been shot at and hit once. Glocky says, "So the missile launched by Russia is a brand new hypersonic missile that can carry 6 independent warheads, and the ones used in Ukraine had 6 independent warheads. And those warheads also launched their own munitions. It's a mid-range missile, which means it covers all of Europe. They targeted American, British, Ukraine missile factories, and Putin said he's going to target military installations in other places." Putin just called the inept West's bluff. That does not sound good for any of us. Hey, Gerald Patterson says Polly Market. Blanche at 28, Bailey 26, Lee at 14, Paxton at 14. Hey, let's go Todd Blanche, baby. That's great, man. I hope it happens. That'd be so fun. Hey, Polly Market. That's great. Funny. Todd Blanche. That's funny. One old guy's opinions says, "No one in NATO is prepared for World War III. Russia is seasoned at the new 21st warfare tactics, techniques, practices, and procedures since 2021. Biden threw out the DOD of all common sense warfighters." Yeah, well, they do know how to fight white rage, whatever that is for sure. And they're good at that. Steven says, "Absolutely right. That's disturbing. Laura, 100%. And the neocons seem really giddy about getting us into World War III. There's a lot of that." Yeah, and I've seen those, even RFK saying that large portions of our military, or let me say large portions of the population, could not make it past the military physical, right? So like our recruitment is down. They're all talking about that. Ukraine has most of our ammo anyways. And is anybody really motivated for a war with Russia? Do we want to go die? Do American families want to send their kids to go fight Russia? I don't think so. Hey, White Buffalo, what's up? 7 months as a membo, says Ashley Merchant for AG. That'd be fun. That would be a lot of fun. Shout out to Ashley Merchant from Georgia. Glocky says, based Representative Mace just destroyed a Fruit Loop flag someone made, put it outside the congressional bathroom. I did see that. Yeah, she went down. Someone put up those flags. Nancy Mace took them down. One old guy says John Cornyn is a rhino who needs to get out. Corey Powell says Gaetz can still be special counsel. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. And he can go prosecute Matt Gaetz. Well, he has to be appointed, right? And still confirmed. Hey, it's the Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets in the House, bringing in 5 membos. Kimberly Gabaldon in the House. What's up, Kimberly? Ron Little, Crash is here. Seth Robertson and Toby Loon in the House. Thank you, Tony Hay, for bringing in 5 new membos. One old guy's opinion says, Rob, get your people to contact the transition team at Mar-a-Lago. I hear there's an opening for AG. I want the Attorney General of live streaming. What is that? Voice of the People says, governors appoint a Senate replacement. The House has yet to have a special election. I don't understand this move. Some shady things are happening. Yeah, it is strange. It is strange. That's why we were asking what happened on Capitol Hill. What changed so quickly? Pam Ragland says, thank you, Voice. I wonder if the Ethics Committee is reappointed in the next House so that starts over. Yeah, another great question. So is there a little strategy? Gaetz resigns. First, the Ethics Committee in the House of Representatives, let's say, but the House is Republican, so if they reformed it, like, does it reset? Does it restart everything? Do they have to do the investigation all over again? Can he escape that by just sitting out as the term turns over? Tony Hay says, hello, Robert. This is such a nice statement, Tony Hay. 19 months as a membo. Mega shout outs to Janine, Shaner, Laura, and Bat Lady. They are always super nice to me, and I appreciate them very much. That is so nice, Tony Hay. Thank you for taking the time on your 19-month dono to shout out some amazing people. We love you, Janine. We love you, Laura. We love you, Bat Lady. Thank you for being nice and pleasant and welcoming in the chat. Hey, Sheila the Pooh, a million hugs to you. We got Sheila. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in 10 membos. Quantum Bits. Nikki F. We got Eric H., Brooke D., Bama Knowles, Andrew Ball, Almighty Snoopy's here, JP Yankee fan, Shelly Ortiz, and Mr. J. Gifted membos, courtesy of Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in 10 membos. Hey, Swells is on Rumble. Says 4D chess or wishful thinking. Nominate Gaetz to see which Republicans fight it, to see who is really on your side. Yeah, it could be. It's interesting. I don't know that you'd want to make, I don't know that you make a move like that to see that, but that's a byproduct of making a Gaetz appointment. It's like if you get Gaetz, great. If you don't, you see. And I think this is also mirroring the shiny object conversation. Gaetz draws a lot of the energy out, and you can see where people stand. Thank you, Swells. Very nice comment. Rob on Rumble says, Dems think Matt Gaetz is completely out at this point, but he could end up as Speaker of the House. That'd be hilarious. That would be hilarious. Sheila Pooh says, I finally got my replacement card. Welcome, new membos. Like and share and turn on those notifications. Thank you, Sheila. It's great to see you. Did you have a fraud or something? You had to cancel your card? Ugh, bummer. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in new membos. Hey, More Here is bringing in more membos, too. Solo is here. Tank Mosey. Angela, oh yeah, welcome. And First Time Diesels, along with Joseph Cash in the house, courtesy of More Here. Gimme More Here. Tony Hay Munkets is bringing in 5 membos. Thank you, Tony Hay. Look at this. Cleanup is here. M. Abilis is here. Mr. Prophet TV, Bobby Grump, and Mark Diamond. Gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony. One old guy's opinions says DC swamp creatures must be dismissed. Glocky shared this one. Hopefully good news. It now appears that the Republicans in the Senate are lining up behind Pete. GOP senators express confidence in Pete Hegseth's confirmation as Pentagon chief. Yeah, because they already blew everything on Gaetz. This one came in from Pab Ragland. Says, don't forget Roseanne Boylan. She's one beaten to death in the tunnel by Capitol Police. My friend is being prosecuted, he believes, because he was in the tunnel and was telling the Capitol Police they're going to kill her. He was trying to stop it. They claim she overdosed, but that is false. Yeah, I've seen the video of that. There were others who died at the Capitol. Roseanne was one of them. And then there were two other men who I think both passed as a result of heart problems. What's up? Sheila Pooh says, RF is coming in. James Carson is here. Jacob, Pat Harlan, 10 membos. Thad the man, go back to the lobby. Sledge Dog, Jamma Barnhill, Ellen Brunetto, Tracy K. Oakes is here. Courtesy of Sheila Pooh. Sheila, thanks for bringing in even more membos today. Amazing to see you. Kathy Babich, what's up, Kathy? Became a supporter. Grab the members only stream from this morning. Hey, Lady Ice says, I thought from the start that this was a bait and switch to put Matt in to replace Rubio as Senate, and Kash Patel will be the AG. Man, Lady Ice, if you call that, that's going to be pretty awesome. Brian Bishop says, Lose Yourself by Eminem. Govea for AG. Go Rob. How's that song go? You lose your moment, you own it, you better never let it go. Oh, something like that, right? You only get one shot. It could be my one shot, man, Brian. All right, I guess I better call Trump. Hey, Jack Mack is here. Jack, thank you for bringing in 5 membos. Jonathan Cardass, what's up? Kim Roberts, Dragon Man, Lori Gordon, and Judge Maddie in the house. What's up, Judge? Welcome aboard, Judge Maddie. Great to have you. Voice of the People says, off topic, but you should bring up a pic of Matt Gaetz and a young Jack Nicholson. It's uncanny. I do believe that. I think that's probably right. Here you go. Hey, Donut did it. Yeah, there you go. It's pretty dang close. That is pretty funny. It's uncanny. All work and no play makes Matt a dull boy. All right, what's up, Acid Burn? Says, Acid Burn shared this, issuing arrest warrants months. Now Israel leader. We did that. Yeah, we covered that story this morning. That's going to be coming out in a segment later tonight or tomorrow. Thank you, Acid Bird. Knox says, happy Thursday, all. We talked about the International Criminal Court on the morning stream for our membos today. So if you missed that. Happy Thursday, all. This could not have happened to a more lovely group of people. MSNBC future a big concern for staffers as Comcast moves to separate liberal network from NBC Universal. We also, Knox, we must have missed you this morning, but we talked about that this morning. We did a whole segment on it. And even Joe Brzezinski's like, we're going to get fired any day now. Hilarious. Yeah, you're right. It's like, poor. Knox, we looked this up this morning. Rachel Maddow, according to the source that I found this morning, $30 million a year. $30 million a year. She does 30 episodes a year. So she's getting $1 million a year, is my understanding, based on what we searched this morning. How can they even afford that? She just is a propagandist. Lady Ice says, Cash knows who to go after. Watch his government gangsters. He is 100% the choice I thought was obvious for AG and was surprised he was not appointed to anything yet. Made me think this was to flush out the rhinos before he showed his hand. A royal flush. Knox is here. Says ambulance at Mar-a-Lago was part of Vance's entourage. Good. Thank you for that. Good clarification on that. Yeah, here's one. Essential Bites. Per Dan Scavino, Mar-a-Lago was the motorcade. Nothing more, nothing less. Sadly, they thought that there was more and something more. Probably wishful thinking for some of them. Like, who's in there? Good to see you, Lady Ice. Sheila Pooh, thank you, Sheila, says Matt Gaetz would be wonderful as a replacement in the Senate, and those rhinos in the Senate would have to work side by side with him. You know, that would be a lot of fun, too. The senators who were like, we're not going to appoint you. He's like, great, I'm going to come sit next to you for 6 years. How you like me now? And I'm going to be opposite you on all the committees. So enjoy it. Thank you, Essential Bites, for that, Dono. This one came in. Look, it's like grade school 1965 again. Hide under the desk, kids. Surviving a nuclear blast. Essential tips for safety. Oh, good. Follow the guidance of the CDC, okay? Just wear your mask and those radioactive isotopes won't hurt you. Hey, Grammy B in North Carolina. Thank you, Grammy B. Welcome aboard as a member. We'll see you on the members only morning stream tomorrow. F. Joe Biden says, okay, even though Matt took himself out, if it goes to recess appointments, Trump can name him anyways. Yeah, I guess that's right. I think that's probably right. Bay Shaman says, could Matt Gaetz just be a delay tactic so Trump can name him actual AG when sworn in? I see, through the recess appointment would be the prospect. I don't think so. I mean, I think that Trump would want to go through a regular confirmation process. That gives the candidate more legitimacy, right? If the candidate is appointed and confirmed, that's the president plus the Senate, you give that person more legitimacy versus somebody who's acting or somebody who is recessed appointed. Now, I'm not saying that Trump doesn't have that capability, but I think he would rather them go through the process. I think that's better politically. And then when that candidate takes office, it gives them more authority in those institutions. So I'm of the mindset that Trump would have wanted Matt Gaetz as AG. I don't think that he would be playing these as tactical maneuvers with the intention to nominate and then pull him out. Like, I don't think that's a win. He's going to get some good data and information from this. And I don't think it's a loss either, because I don't think that Matt Gaetz I think he was kind of a long shot. He was always a spicy pick. It's like, wow, let's swing for the fences on this, knowing that we might not get it. That's okay. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We'll know more. I mean, I think the next pick was going to tell us a lot about what Trump is thinking. Hey, Knox Bierman says, yeah, Jasmine Crockett went to Rhodes College, which is a private college in Memphis. They charge $450 a year. Jasmine Crockett, who was saying that white people are never oppressed at all. Remember she said that yesterday or whatever she was saying? And that white people brought her over on a ship or something. I don't know what the hell she was saying. It seemed pretty racist to me, but she can get away with it, I guess. But she went to a Rhodes College. That's strange because it sounded like she was put into bondage at an early young age or something, based on what she said. Knox says, I'll have to watch the morning stream. If I were rich, I would pay millions to never hear from Crazy Maddow again. I know, I know, we missed you. I'm not saying, I didn't mean to say that like I'm irritated that you're bringing it up again, but we did a whole segment on it. It was a ton of fun this morning. We had a ton of fun. So you have to watch it because it was all about them, MSNBC. It was all about them losing. And Joe Scarborough was on there talking about it. He's like, we might get fired in a year. Mika's like, might be tomorrow, bro. Oh, $56K. Okay, that makes more sense. Like $456K a year, that's a lot. So there's a typo there. So it's 56K. That makes more sense. Yeah. 56K. Yeah, that's still a lot of money. Still a lot of money. So she seems very oppressed. Maybe if she would have gone to a $450,000 college, then she would be less oppressed. $56,000 though. That's kind of like poor people college. She had to go there. Poor Jasmine Crockett. Hopefully she survives this. All right, so my friends, amazing donos. Thank you so much for sending those in and for being here, for joining us on the live stream. Thanks for subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks for sharing a small segment or the live stream with a friend or family member. Invite them to come over and join us. Hop in the chat with you so that we can see them here as well. Let's say hello to our friends on X. Just Me just sent in a dono. Thank you, Just Me, for that. And says, do know I have a problem with the Congress policing themselves over ethics. They work for us, and if they have a secret investigation over ethics, we should all know this info before we vote them back into office. Yeah, I think that's a good... There's some good truth to this. The thing that we've seen historically happen here, is that they will tell us that Congress, because it's its own entity, it's its own body, that they can govern themselves. So remember, we saw this in the January 6th saga. where there were lawsuits saying that the January 6th committee was illegally constituted, but the court said they can govern themselves. So if H.R. 503 says there needs to be 5 Republicans, but there's not, that's Congress's problem. So there's, we give the branches control to govern themselves, but I think your point is that we're not that. Like, in other words, the judiciary can't go into Congress and control how Congress does their business any more than we want Congress going in to the judiciary and telling them how to do things, right? That's separate but equal is the concept. But what you're saying is Congress can pass an ethical rule or a guideline, a standard that means they publish that stuff for us. I'm in favor of more accountability and transparency, however it manifests itself. Our government hiding things from us is not for our own good. It's not for our own safety. It's because they're engaged in corruption and dishonesty, and they don't want us to know about it. So thank you for that, Just Me. Very nice dono. And I appreciate your support today. All right, so here are some comments on X. Fred says, I think Matt Gaetz thing has many reasons to it. He just retired his seat in the House. People don't know what to do. Don't do that until they're approved by the Senate. Rubio's Senate seat will be open, so DeSantis can appoint him. That was a text that Fred sent some time ago. James Pepper, what's up? Zinn Craig is in the house. Rhino says, what's next, you say? He says a repeat of the first term of massive success. Al Holman says, a nuclear war is so 1950s. So 1950s. And here we are. Says, Cohen says, Mr. Govea, hypothetical situation. If you were chosen to be the next U.S. AG, what would you do? Would you hold everyone accountable? Everyone. Everyone. No one is spared. And I need 5 minutes with the J6 floor. And we'll get that solved. We'll have them prosecuting themselves in no time. I have a plan for this. And when I am seated for my confirmation hearings, I'll tell you all the details. All right, so Not Brandon says, finally got some cell reception, but that illegal criminal was definitely located on East 45th Street at Roosevelt. Why the lies? I don't know. Was he not? Did they say he was somewhere else? That's interesting. So they're reporting that he was in a different location? Maybe another location is too racist or something? I don't know. Thank you, Not Brandon. Great to see you. And so, my friends, thank you so much for those comments. Thank you for the donos. Thank you for being here on our live stream. I'm very grateful to have you here. I know there are many places you could be, and I'm honored to be able to share some of this stuff with you. And as we go through this together, it's going to be fun. So we're going to pause there for the evening. We are going to head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members-only after party. We'll go hang out over there. But my friends, otherwise, if we don't see you as a membo, we are coming back tomorrow. And tomorrow, we know what day it is. It's going to be a beautiful Friday. We're excited about that. But we're not there yet. And so tonight, I hope you have some restful sleep. We're going to come back tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that properly, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.